The 2017 Global Risks Report identified extreme weather events as the top global risks in this generation in terms of likelihood and impacts. I don't know about you, but it seems that there are a lot of news about natural disasters lately. And in fact, 2017 will go down in history as the most destructive year in record based on UNISDER. Now, the bad news is, in the past 40 years, the economic losses from natural disasters have more than tripled and the frequency doubled. Let's talk about the numbers for a second. 2.5 trillion US dollars is the direct cost of natural disasters. It is bigger than the annual GDP of France and is equivalent to the annual turnover of 300 cooperatives. Another way to think of it is that it is equivalent to half of all the official development aid that we have given in the same time period. So think, for every $2 of aid, you have taken one of them and thrown them away. And this is something we all need to pay attention to, especially for business owners. Just imagine, where could all that money go? Wouldn't it be amazing if you could schedule your next disaster just like your next vacation? But this is a topic many don't think about until disaster is upon them. I know, given the pace of day-to-day businesses, being prepared to natural disasters may seem like a long stretch. But just like viruses can cause diseases, natural disasters come in a variety of shapes and sizes, both natural and man-made. Even businesses far from the destruction can feel the economic impact of the disasters. And many businesses do that. They provide services and products to customers outside the disaster area. Our customers and employees depend on us, depend on you guys, to maintain a provisional plan for continuity even in the worst condition. Now, I know as a big multinational corporations, you already know this. Why am I even thinking right now? But there's still a piece missing in our jigsaw puzzle. Someone who is still clueless to this. That's right. There are the small, medium enterprises. Fewer than 1 in 6 of them actually have business continuity plans. In fact, recent research by Florida International University in 4 countries found that only 20% of SMEs have something that is close to business emergency plan. And when they're hit with disasters, for example, Hurricane Irma or Hurricane Maria, for example, 40% of them will never reopen. So we say, what is going on? Why is this happening? The same research believes that there are 3 main reasons for this behavior. One will say, we don't care enough. It's not government mandated. Why should we care? Another will say, we don't have the capacity or the budget for this. It is an added cost. But another will say, we want to do it, but maybe not now, maybe later. Ironically, however, 80 to 90% of local economy growth comes from them. And especially in developing countries, they account for half of the workforce. They're also proven to be the ones to respond faster and prepare better root measures in times of disasters. Think of them like our immune system when hazards do actually happen. Now, maybe you think, this guy speaking in front of you guys is just bluffing. But it's actually happening. I'm not kidding. So how should we invest in our partners' resilience? Basically, now they only have 3 options. 1, invest in post-disaster recovery, insurance. 2nd, abandon their old business space and make new business space. And 3rd, do nothing and march towards death. Now, none of them seems quite attractive, right? Because often we offer too little, too late. Until 2010, only 4% of disaster aid goes to prevention and preparedness. The other goes to response and reconstruction. And we believe that we need to switch that number around. In fact, we need to move from a tradition of response to a culture of prevention, a culture of resilience. Now, let us give you some examples of what does seem to start working, especially for small businesses by our by my partner.
What if all business are safe, resilient, and prepared? Do you have any ideas? Okay, don't worry guys. Our network has lots of success stories to tell. We should tell these stories to our partners through the advertisement campaign, to featuring tales as a business resilience. Example, we can take the agriculture practices in Cambodia. We know that Cambodia is one of the most drought and climate hazardous country in the Asia Pacific region. Farmers suffering the food scarcity, that's why they started to invest in DRR. They saved their business with increasing their resilient and farming system with minimizing the disaster risks. We can take another example from Nepal. Nepal is where Nepal is the beautiful country, we know that. The ecotourism is the one of the most important business to support the national GDP there. Before the earthquake happened in Nepal, Nepal looked like a heaven with the natural beauties and cultural heritage. After earthquake happened, you can see that after earthquake, Nepal have to face lots of economic consequences. Many hotels and service providers shut down, tourists go back home. It's directly impact to our partners. It's directly impact to our partners because they are not prepared for the disaster. But stories never end here. Our partners realize that safe community require safe and reliable infrastructure. That's why they started to investing in disaster, investing in DRR for a rebuild to the disaster risk reduction. We have another story in which business invested in DRR before disaster happened. We can take the one story from Orion, or one of the electricity distributor in New Zealand. This company invests $6 million in the earthquake proofing in the facilities. When a Christchurch earthquake happened in 2010, they can able to save 65,000 million potential loss if they didn't invest in DRR. We have another stories because investment in resilience is not limited for the big heroes, big players. We have another story from Mexico. We're learning from our experience. It is the practice. Because when hurricane Isidore 2002 happened in Mexico, Mexican fishermen able to save $35,000 when it's happened after 3 years later, when the hurricane happened 3 years later. And we will do this. We will do this through our stories and business. We will do this through our stories and business because we are playing short movies featuring the actors as a resilient preparedness, as a role model for resilience preparedness. As a role model for resilience preparedness to spread our words if they have incorporated disaster preparedness to their own experience. The goal of this campaign is to instill the idea to the mass that could be a good business for a disaster prepared one, those making a demand for business to adopt disaster risk reduction. For other areas, we will show the video of cooperation and disaster preparedness, just like how tourism revitalized in Nepal after earthquake. Thank you.
It is with disasters that I realized that there are more stories than the effects of a disaster. People can actually prevent disasters from happening to them. And these stories, just like what Jyoti has been discussing earlier, we have to take these stories center stage. And this is the primary goal of our ad campaign. But what are the messages that we should impart in these stories? These businesses, us, from the larger private sector companies, and our partners on the ground, the small and medium enterprises, we all have one thing in common. And this is our goal to make our communities grow. And we cannot make them grow if they are not prepared for future disasters. And this is why one of our primary messages in this ad campaign is that we have to keep our communities close to our heart. They are at the heart of our business. Without them, we could not strive. It is through them that we get our resources, our skilled workers, and it's through us that they get opportunities towards the future. And this is with an important goal in mind, that we have to play our own role in society, and we have to play our own role in development. And we have to put it into consideration that in the hearts of our businesses, in the hearts of our communities, that resilience is a shared responsibility. Us, our leaders in our profession, leaders in our field, will have to guide our partners, our small, medium, and business enterprises on the ground towards resilience. And we shall entice them towards our network and join us towards resilience. And how should we do it? Basically, we have to state one important thing. Investing in disaster risk reduction is something we should do now, because it is very important to do now, and it is something cost effective. If you realize in the stories earlier, $6 million invested, $65 million saved. And for each fisherman in Mexico, they save $35,000 US. So it saves a lot of money when you prepare for disaster. And even with the facts, the UN has this in a very conservative note. They only have stated that for every $1 invested in risk reduction, it saves $7 in response. But you can see it makes tenfold. 6 to 65 million, it's large. Here's actually a video of how small communities can do this on their own with minimal effort. This is actually a community in the Philippines practicing how to evacuate fish. And life is connected to livelihood. Here's a video of women actually preparing their crops for disaster risk reduction. Actually, they're evacuating crops. And this is just to ensure that after a disaster, businesses continue. Economic growth continues. We don't want to halt that. And this can only be done through disaster risk reduction, effective investment in disaster risk reduction. So, how are we going to do this? We are the private sector. We have lots of skilled workers. We have the intellect. But through our advertisement campaign, we shall entice them to join us, because we will bring in all sectors to share knowledge towards disaster risk reduction. It is not just us. We want to show people that we are ready to work with them. Bringing tried and tested practices from the academy, civil society, the government, and of course, from us, the private sector. Because disaster risk reduction can only be done through an all-of-society approach. Finally, we shall serve as role models in our own sector. Being leaders in the private sector, we shall lead society towards resilience. We hope to bring in more people, more businesses, more partners, particularly from the small and medium businesses that operate in local communities. Because together with Arise, we can have safe, resilient, and prepared communities for the future. Thank you very much.